Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
We are proud to announce the Conservative Watch Hour on WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM every Friday at 11 a.m. Hosted by Annie Marie Delgado, president of Trump Team 2020 Florida, and her co-host Ann Vandersteel with SteelTruth.com. We are serving a higher level of excellence, and we are the only program of this type in this market. Don't miss your weekly dose of conservative talk radio. WOCA 11 a.m. Fridays, 96.3 and 1370 a.m.
The NFL alumni is sponsoring a Clay for Kids sporting event to benefit Champions for Champions. The event will take place at the Robinson Ranch in Inglis, Florida on Saturday, March 21st. Call 866-996-2182 for details. The NFL alumni will provide gift bags, breakfast, lunch, and prizes. Call 866-996-2182 for details. Clay for Kids. Call 866-996-2182 for details. Hosted by the NFL alumni.
But our flight doesn't leave for 5 hours.
Traffic could be bad. Trying to find a parking spot, then the mile walk here could take a while.
From parking to boarding and everything in between, it's just better. Gainesville Regional Airport.
Come to the 7th Annual Habitat Strawberry Festival on March 7th, 2020 at the McPherson Government Complex. The festival will have vendors, food, a car show, a kids zone, live entertainment, pie-eating contests, and all things strawberry. All to also raise funds to build a habitat home for a family in our community. Check out the website, habitatocala.org, and follow the link. The Habitat for Humanity Strawberry Festival is Saturday, March 7th, with breakfast served at 7:30. Free admission, $5 parking. See you there.
Good morning to you today. This is Annie Marie Delgado with the Conservative Watch Hour here at WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM. We are so proud this morning to come to you with this wonderful show that we have called the Conservative Watch Hour. And I have today with me my co-host, Ann Vandersteel of Steel Truth. Annie, you there?
I'm here. Good morning, Annie Marie. It's awesome to be with you. Boy, we are really, we've been covering the waterfront this morning. We're just bouncing from show to show, and this conservative watch is taking fire. People love it.
Sorry, Ann, just give me a second here. I'm just putting my
She hasn't put her
headsets on. There we go. My headphones on, if I can keep that on with my hat. I don't know if I can do it, but hey, here we go. It's all right. I'll make it work. Fantastic. I can hear you now, Ann.
Oh, good. I was just saying, we've been bouncing around from show to show this week, and the Conservative Watch is taking fire out there. People love the content because we're bringing it real. We're bringing the real news to people to cover up and just sort of fight back on the fake news. It's really exciting, and the people across the country are loving the information that we're putting out because we're bringing them stuff that they're not hearing. They're not hearing at all, and they're getting a little bit of a sneak peek from the Trump Team 2020 Florida president. She's got some good connections, maybe. I don't know, maybe the boss.
Well, I can tell you that the feedback has been tremendous. Conservative Watch Hour is now, we're all over the state of Florida, and actually with iHeart, we're national, and we're, as I said, really excited and proud to be here with WOCA, the source in Ocala, Marion County, Florida, where we just recently actually just kicked off our Marion County chapter for Trump Team 2020 Florida. And, it's thrilling and exciting to see. This morning, of course, we were in the Panhandle on our Panhandle station, and to see all the different chapters around the state, and the feedback that we are getting is just off the charts, Ann.
I know. Well, you know what, Annie, this reminds me when I met you back in 2015, and I think everybody needs to hear this story because it's worth telling about, the character of the individual that's leading the largest grassroots organization in Florida, Annie Marie Delgado, president of Trump Team 2020 Florida. I had the privilege and the honor of meeting you back in 2015 during the campaign for President Trump when you were here in Palm Beach County, where I live, hanging Chad Hell, as we refer to it. And I saw you run an organization of people. I was one of the phone bankers, and I did door knocking, and I had signs, and I did all that good stuff. But I didn't really get to interact direct. It was a great time. But I watched you work, and when you came in that office, it was like an F5 tornado came in there and just got everybody humming and moving and shaking. You couldn't have been nicer, but the energy you put out is one of just extreme dedication and focus and love of what you're doing to save this country. And you, of course, love the president, so you put everything behind it and then some, including relocating yourself to the center of the state so you could be in a better place to spring and go from here to there to everywhere to cover ground. It's just
Absolutely.
Amazing, lady.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you. I thank you, and I'll tell you, and I certainly don't do this by myself, and you're absolutely correct. I'm in Palm Beach County over 40 years, and I've had home in Marion County in Ocala for many, many years. Actually, I had a couple of horses about 30 years back, my thoroughbreds up here, and all the years of going back and forth to Tallahassee and Palm Beach, I said, I think we need a place in the middle. But logistically, it really works well for me because we have chapters from the bottom of the state, from Miami chapter, Broward County chapter, all the way up to the top of the Panhandle, our Escambia County chapter, and here in Central Florida from our the villages. We have our villages chapter. We have now, of course, we kicked off our Marion County. We have Lake County, Citrus County, Hernando County. It just goes all the way across, even Jacksonville, Duval County. So for me, it just seems, and logistically, it's easier for me to be able to be in the middle of the state so I can reach all the folks and go to the different events and do all the speaking engagements that we do. But most importantly, in regards to what Trump Team 2020 Florida does, in addition to being, yes, indeed, you're correct, we are the largest grassroots organization growing by leaps and bounds in the state of Florida. But voter registration is our major initiative. And it's vitally important because, there are so many. I had the opportunity not too long ago to bring a wonderful gentleman named Mark Geis. Mark Geis, if you remember Benghazi, and this gentleman, I brought him in to speak into our Citrus County in Floral City. We had 3,000 people show up for this event, right in little old Floral City in Central Florida. And then I brought in Jonathan Gillum, which I know you were there with us. That was an amazing event. We had 2,500 people there for that event. We're going to continue to do these things, but voter registration, the one reason why I brought up Mark Geis is that gentleman, his story is so compelling. For most people, Benghazi is just a word anymore now. They forgot what that really means. We lost the lives of 4 incredible people, and including our ambassador. And Mark Geis was head over of the CIA annex building. And he was told to stand down, stand down, stand down, to where he said, as he's receiving the calls from the ambassador and from the embassy, please come help us, we're going to die. And he said, okay, enough of that, and he got there and went, and it was just amazing to see the results of his actions. They were able to save 25 people, but unfortunately not the ambassador. But with that being said, he did inform me about the fact that here in the state of Florida, we have a tremendous amount of veterans that are not registered to vote. And that really, really caught my attention because, as I said, our initiative is to register people to vote. And what we're seeing across all of our different chapters for Trump Team 2020 Florida, because we are registered with the Florida State Department Election Division as a third-party voter registrant. And when I registered Trump Team 2020 Florida with the State Department, we were approved for 67 counties in the state of Florida. So the work that we're doing is vitally important for this election, any election, but most importantly is to help some of these folks especially like the veterans. You know, we have over 55,000 vets right here in Marion County. We want to make sure that we help them to get to the voting booths, not only there, but to be able to get registered. You know, we have a lot of my sweetie's a disabled veteran. I understand some of the difficulties that some of these other vets that may not have a vehicle, may not be able to have transportation to get to where they need to go to, whether it be to register to vote. So we're out there making a difference. And, you know.
That's right, you are. I mean, and in the state of Florida, Annie, I mean, just thanks to the efforts that you're putting forth, Florida Republicans are out registering Democrats right now by a factor of 2 to 1, despite the fact that the former candidate for governor, Andrew Gillum, claims that he's registered. His efforts have resulted in the registration of 100,000 new voters. No, that's not exactly true. The Florida Division of Elections tells a completely different story. You know, a lot of this came through just driver's license registrations, getting people new driver's license down here. We know Florida is one of the fastest growing states in the country thanks to our incredible leadership down here with Governor Ron DeSantis and, of course, the favorable tax advantages. But you're right. This is key to winning. How do you win an election, Danny?
And as I always say, there's only, you know, when I ask that question, there's one answer and one answer only as to how to win an election. You must have more voters than your opponent, period, the end.
That's it.
And how do you make that happen? You must get out there and get these folks to register to vote. But, you know, there's a whole nother segment of it with people that move. There's a lot of folks that move around the state of Florida, within the state, and then they forget to update their voter registration and change their address. And then when they go to vote, they say, well, no, you can't vote here. And it becomes problematic. So there's another area that we work hard in our training when I cluster counties around the state and we do our voter registration training, and then I have a registrar that leads that area. Those are some of the important factors that we certainly include in the training to make sure and ask the folks if they have changed and updated to make sure that their voter registration, their address is correct as well, because that's important. And I can tell, you know, it's tremendous. It makes a difference. But, you know, what really got me was when Andrew Gillum did make that announcement that he had $2 million and he'd gone to the state of Florida to become a third-party voter registrant and vote and register voters. People were speculating because that announcement went on for 2.5 days or so before. And they were speculating, oh, is he going to run for president, which I thought was pretty interesting. But in essence, what he did was announce that he had $2 million and this is what he was going to do. But what he really meant is, well, George Soros gave me $2 million and we're going to up the ante because we just did this voter fraud that went on between Palm Beach County and Broward County in the recount in 2018. Let's not forget that. So,
that's right.
Well, it appears as though they're not being too successful in that, are they? Because we are 2 to 1 over them.
That's exactly right. So that money that was supposedly going to help register new voters, no, they're going to just find more dead voters and, of course, the illegals that they want voting. This is what's happening. And you know what, Annie, let's not forget the Trump Team 2020 chapter in Puerto Rico, how vital that is.
Right. That's
because we've seen such an increase. I mean, I don't know if people are, you know, understand that we've received 2 million people from Puerto Rico since Hurricane Maria that have relocated across the I-4 corridor predominantly. And that's a base of voter that these are new voters here because they felt like the stepchild in Puerto Rico for so long, and they're here now. And because they felt like the stepchild really maybe didn't understand the issues, and that because of their corrupt government, they're used to handouts and being told what to do, and of course being treated like a stepchild by their own government. We know how corrupt.
Right, and and that's really interesting, Annie, because most people think that Puerto Rico is not part of the United States. They don't realize that they're Americans as well.
That's right.
They don't need a green card, or they're not illegal or anything like that. They're Americans. And for me personally, myself, I'm Spanish. I mean, this really affects me. And yes, we have an amazing, amazing team in Puerto Rico, chapter that actually worked with me during the 2015-2016 campaign. As you know, President Trump, then candidate Trump, a dear friend for a long, long time, decades here in Florida and Palm Beach, And when he hired me to be a staff member as a Florida State Director for Grassroots and Coalitions, we built up an amazing, amazing team, and especially in Puerto Rico. So we still have all these wonderful people, and we're working toward the efforts that are very important to the Puerto Rican people. And see, they vote values, and this is where the conversation needs to be held, and it is being held within the community of the Hispanic community. We see the numbers, they see the numbers. We have the lowest unemployment rate within the Hispanic community, within the Black community, Asian, it doesn't matter. I hate kind of labeling it like that, but it is what it is, because it's true and it's facts. And so when I speak to them in Spanish, of course, which I speak fluently, read it and write it, and we talk about the differences between being conservative and being liberal, and we have so much more in common. So they vote their values. They do not want to kill their babies. They do not. You know, they believe in God. They are people of faith, of strong faith. Most of them are Catholic, and it's just not Puerto Rico. I mean, from Mexico and in different areas, Venezuela, same thing. And so these people are voting their values, and that's why we're seeing the tremendous amount of voter registration change. We just did a drive in Miami, 1,500 people. Citrus County, good old little Citrus County, right in the middle of the state right here. Billy Casey is a wonderful gentleman. He's the president of our Trump Club there, and the work that they are doing with Melanie and the rest of the volunteers, and they have turned over so many registrations, just as Hernando County. Kathy Camp, she's the president of our chapter in Hernando County, and they're turning in voter registrations. But we have a headquarters out in Citrus, and I'll tell you, Democrats are walking in on a daily basis and turning and changing their registration from Democrat to Republican.
Thank you, Nancy Pelosi.
Yes, I do believe. Thank you, Nancy.
I do know. I think we can thank Nancy and Chuck and Al and Nadler, and I mean, we could just, the list goes on and on. AOC, Rashida Tlaib. I mean, you know, can we just name them all?
The squad, and that's something.
The squad. Right, Annie. We're seeing the shift in a big way. Voter fraud still is a concern. I believe we have to be definitely very concerned about what new tactics are going to try. How are they going to try and smuggle and hide absentee ballots and create fake absentee ballots like we know they've done? I mean, last year or in 2018, when I was covering the election down in Broward County, you know, I was down there and we were uncovering where the ballot boxes had been opened and tampered with before the votes were counted.
I remember. I was there.
You were there. Tell me how that is supposed to just fly, right? And there's a reason why Brenda Snipes, the supervisor of elections, was terminated. There's a reason why you're seeing Governor DeSantis take a very bipartisan approach to looking at corruption on both sides of the aisle in Florida. He's had to dismiss basically everybody from our water district, right? Water is a massive problem in Florida. It impacts everybody everywhere in the state.
I love what he did on that. Cleaned house. I love that
South
move.
Florida water management.
Believe me,
it needed to be.
Yeah, absolutely, and myself being from Palm Beach County for 4 decades now, and seeing as I grew up and watching the same people and that same infiltration. This is why I tell you, I am a firm believer in term limits at all levels. All levels. Term limits at all levels. This is vitally important. And I just applaud the governor for what he did and cleaning house with that particular organization, because if you remember, Palm Beach County, well, it's pretty famous for a lot of things, but they're not good things, unfortunately.
That's right.
You know, we had the hanging chads, of course, which at that time, as a former commissioner down there and being part of the panel and dealing with the recounts and watching the trucks go up the highway and turn around and come back down the highway, it was insane. But I remember that vividly, and the butterfly ballot, and Teresa Lepore, which is a dear woman and a dear friend, and all those things, to where we saw up to 7 different, between city commissioners and county commissioners, all go to jail. Remember that? Tony Mazzalotti, Mary McCarty, and it's unfortunate, but, these things happen. But it seems to happen in these areas where you have this Rhino Democrat-controlled area. And we see this repetitively, and when you look at Broward County, Jesus, it's really hard to talk about Broward County because it's so bad down there. But what we need to do is focus on what we could do collectively as a body, and this is where we come in to make a difference and change these things. And kudos, we won that election by the skin of our teeth for Governor DeSantis, but my goodness gracious, he is doing a magnificent job for the state.
He really is, and that's the whole reason the Trump Team 2020 Florida exists, and is the efforts to ignite the grassroots and to find more people to join the grassroots, because without the numbers, like you said, we have to outvote them. There has to be more of us than them, and they're going to continue to try and generate fake ballots and all this other horseplay so they can try and steal, and that's all they have. They don't have a platform. They don't have any solid issues, and the issues that they're espousing out there are so far left. They're un-American. They fly in the face of our Constitution. They fly in the face of our liberties that we have been granted inalienable rights by God our founding fathers, and they absolutely are going to do whatever they can to steal so they can continue to wheel and deal. And it's incumbent upon every American to stand up and take to the fight, at the very least turn out and vote, but understand what's at stake. And I think that you're doing an amazing job with Trump Team 2020 Florida. I'm really proud to be part of your media advisory board because I get a firsthand look at what you're doing on a daily basis, and it's just exceptional. And I think more people need to wake up to that. So anyway, wow, let's talk about some news, Annie, because we really have. I mean, it's Friday.
We have a lot on here, MAGA Friday, and we have a lot coming up, don't we?
We have a lot coming up. There's a lot going on. I mean, just this week alone, right? You saw Ilhan Omar being excoriated by people in the Somali community, talking about that she married her own brother. That's in print everywhere. Roger Stone got sentenced yesterday in by a very cantankerous Judge Amy Berman Jackson, who was trying to, throw President Trump under the bus. But he's not being sent to prison until he's had a chance to appeal. So they're leaving that crack in Pandora's box because obviously there's some problems with the jurors there. We know that. Then you saw President Trump prior to that basically pardon or commute Blago, Bernie Carrick, DeBartolo from the 49ers, and Michael Milken all got either pardoned or commuted sentences. Impressive. And then we saw the fake Indian go after the mini Mike on stage. The the midget got beat up by a fake Indian in a Democrat debate. And then of course Holder. Did you see that Eric Holder freaked out on a journalist yesterday? He absolutely went nuts on he lost it.
Par for the course.
Yeah. But, Andy, what's going on the whole time that all this stuff is happening? Trump rallies are exploding, standing room only, practically fire marshals having to hold people outside, and you just can't get enough of what the Make America Great Again movement means to this country. And the Democrats continue to march down the left off the plank and, set themselves on fire as they jump off into the ocean forever and ever. Goodbye.
That's right.
It's incredible.
That's right. Absolutely. And you know what? I'll tell you, and, he had the magnificent, tremendous rally in Phoenix, and then yesterday in Colorado. Today is Nevada, and I've got friends of mine calling me from Vegas trying to get, tickets to get in, or VIP, but the point is that they've been online for a day and a half already. And when we look at that, Iowa, I don't even know if they ever really finished doing their counting and came up with their caucus vote. They couldn't get one state in order. One state. They're going to try and run the whole United States.
That's what I mean. How are you going to run a country if you can't get an app to work? I mean, let's look at what the president is managing, the Profit and Loss Center of the United States, right? He's looking at the budget. He's looking at how he's going to run the country. We've got so much on the table. The Congress can't get out of their way. The do-nothing Democrats have basically stalled out and choked off this Congress from getting anything accomplished until the next election, which I believe we're going to take back the House and we're going to hold, if not maybe even increase the Senate.
Absolutely.
But we continue to march ahead to the beat of MAGA, and the Democrats continue to walk the plank off into the abyss of far-left socialism, which this country rejects by and by. They reject by and by, and I don't know how they don't see it. I don't know how they're blind.
Well, when you look at even Bloomberg, he just looked right at Bernie and said, Bernie, you're a communist socialist. This country's not ready for that. Oh, he didn't like that too much, but nonetheless, this is what they are proposing. The reason why the Democrats are so upset with Bernie, and I speak to my Democrat friends too, believe me, I still have them, and they do not want Bernie talking about being communists and being socialists, because that opens all of them up for it. And they'd rather him just shut his mouth and keep it hush-hush. We know we are, but we don't want you to tell everybody we are.
That's right.
They have been fooling people for decades and decades and decades, especially the lower income. You look at every single city that is in the dump, it's run by the Democrats.
That's exactly right.
You look at
That's exactly
Pelosi's district, you look at Maxine Waters' district. She doesn't even live in her district. And she lives in a big mansion. And look at the people in her district. It's the highest amount of homeless.
The ones that are sleeping on the street? Oh, yeah, there you go. The highest amount of homeless. Exactly.
Yeah.
The ones that are sleeping on the street.
Right.
In between piles of feces. You know what's interesting? In Bloomberg's paper yesterday, they actually had an article talking about the United Kingdom's economy is picking up after Brexit.
All right, we're going to break now, Ann. We got about a minute left. Yeah, a minute or more. So just to give you a little heads up, that's what considering. Hey, listen, this is our first day. This is our debut right here in WOCA 96.3, and so we're going to get the little groove on this. So when I get the high sign that we have a minute or two left, and I'll let you know so that we can take a little break for our commercial and we can stay on the air and then come back and continue on with that.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to continuing the discussion. I just, if the UK can say they've got better data coming out, better economics on the horizon because they've got Brexit behind them now, that should tell the EU and everybody around the world everything that the America First agenda is successful, because the UK is coming in right behind us, baby.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the UK is getting ready to close the borders, though.
They better.
Yeah.
They better.
They are.
You want to talk about that? We'll come back.
We're going to come back
after break.
Are we there?
Being spent on a campaign.
Donald Trump was the real winner.
I think that the Democrats on stage were so busy attacking each other that they forgot that the actual job is to tell the American people how we're going to do a better job for them than Donald Trump can do.
He could qualify for the debate next Tuesday, but hasn't yet. The funeral's today in Casey, South Carolina for 6-year-old Faye Marie Swetlick.
The girl went missing after being seen in her own front yard after school last week. Police found her body in the woods behind a residence not far from her own home. The body of a man believed connected to the girl's death was discovered inside that home. The family is hoping attendees will wear bright pink and purple, colors the girl liked.
Fox's Evan Brown. America's listening to Fox News.
Democracy 2020 coverage continues this election season on the Fox News Podcast Network.
We have the best economy we've ever had. With your help on November 3rd, we are going to defeat the radical socialist Democrats.
Subscribe and download now from Washington. The latest news from the nation's capital.
This victory here is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
Dana Perino and Chris Steyerwalt with I'll Tell You What has you covered. Who's leading, who's trailing, who's right, and who's wrong.
Thanks to you, a campaign that some said shouldn't be here at all has shown that we are here to stay.
Hit the trails with Brent Baer as the candidates take it to the streets. It's the campaign with Brent Baer.
I offer a record of getting things done.
And each morning, the Fox News Rundown takes you beyond the headlines on Democracy 2020. Subscribe, download, listen, stay informed at foxnewspodcasts.com.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Cloudy and cooler today, high 62 to 65. Tonight, mainly clear and chilly, low 42. Tomorrow, sunshine, followed by increasing clouds, high 68 to 70. Sunday, nice with some sunshine, high 73 to 77. Monday, areas of low clouds with a thunderstorm possible in the afternoon, high Monday, 80 to 83. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Brian Hill.
All right, here we go, Miss Ann Vandersteel from SteelTruth.com. On with me here is my co-host, Annie Marie Delgado with Trump Team 2020 Florida, coming to you from WOCA 96.3 FM right here in good old Ocala, Marion County. So tell me, Ann, what do you think about the fact that Europe is now, the UK, proposing that they're going to be closing the borders for Americans flying from the UK into America?
It's definitely very alarming. I have a friend over there right now, a very dear friend that has been with me on a political journey from day one when I got on Twitter 5 years ago to get into politics, and he's over there now consulting, and we're begging him to get on a plane and come home now before they close the border. Mm-hmm. And that should tell us what we need to be focusing on. I mean, the coronavirus, there's a lot of information out there, and myself and my husband have been following it for close to a month now. And we actually went out and stocked up and got our own supplies, just like a hurricane, and said, you know what, just in case it gets a little crazy and people panic, we should just have some things on hand, right? So we did, and everybody should always be in that mode. You should always have extra cash on hand and extra food on hand, just in case your car breaks down and you can't get to the store. It's as simple as that. But the fact that the UK now is really looking at this, and you look at the markets, my husband's in the commodities business, and you look at the markets and you look at how the United States market really hasn't responded, but the rest of the world is in terms of markets responding. And there's been some false positives along the way. Yesterday, fuel, while the consumption is leaving a 400 million barrel surplus on a daily basis right now because of Asia being offline, essentially, the price of fuel or the price of oil went up yesterday. That didn't make any sense. Now today it's down. So it's as if there's forces out there that are trying to be like, oh no, this really can't, it's not really us. This is like an asteroid coming. It can't really hit us. We're not going to die from an asteroid. There's some speculation that this coronavirus is all that it could be and worse. However, let's keep it in perspective. Right now, we know it's hit Asia very hard. Mm-hmm. And we also know that this virus has really attacked the Asian male. And I've watched several doctors talk about this, and there's genetic reasons for it. They are predisposed with certain genetics in their DNA that blacks, Hispanics, and Caucasians are not. Mm-hmm. So does it mean we're going to be unscathed and nobody's going to get sick and die? I'm not saying that at all. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is it has impacted that population far worse. And, of course, that's where it started. Now, it is yet to be proven definitively that it's bioterrorism, but there's a lot of indications that there's something not right with what happened. Well, of course,
and when we take a look, let's not forget, certain things have come forth already. One of them that I do want to share with our listening audience, because everyone should be aware of it, the fact that 99% of antibiotics are manufactured and made in China, not even the United States, so we have none. That's critical to know. God forbid this situation becomes to an epic situation. It gets worse than it is now, and we don't have. That's why it's important. But we should always do this. See, in Florida, we're a little bit more prepared than the rest of the nation because we go through hurricanes season every year. The beginning of June, right to November. So we're kind of used to stocking up and making sure that we have extra supplies and extra medicines and things like that. But when we're not preparing for an epidemic that could wipe out half the nation, we just have to be vigilant. And so that's why it's important to share that kind of information. Now, another thing
it's about the global supply chain.
Oh, absolutely.
China is the world's second largest economy. So, like you said, with antibiotics going offline, with 70% of China offline and not manufacturing, Apple several days ago already put the numbers out. We're not going to make them. We're not going to meet our numbers. We're going to be down because of the global supply chain problem. Fiat itself is not making automobiles. They can't get parts from China. This is going to impact the global supply chain wildly, which is going to impact numbers. Is that a long-term problem? No. Is it a short-term problem? Yes. So you have to be prepared for your consumable goods, and you have to be prepared if you are, if you're a day trader, you got to be hip to the volatility index right now. If you're a long-term stock player, then you adjust accordingly. But this is definitely something we've got to pay attention to. And frankly, it's like any person when you're traveling. Make sure you have your Purell and your antibiotics or antiseptic and all that stuff, and keep your hands clean. And just try and limit your access to big areas where people are congregating, because right now we are in cold and flu season, and the corona is running its course around the country, around the world, and people are dying. They are dying.
And they are indeed. Absolutely. We certainly know that we have, multiple cruise ships out there, and folks already are dying from in those situations. The quarantine levels and numbers are off the charts. But, let's not forget, we had right here at Harvard University, Dr. Charles Lieber, which was arrested, fired, and all this other stuff. And then we had two other students. They were posing as students anyway. One of them was with the Chinese Army, and they arrested that gentleman trying to flee the country in Boston Logan Airport with 17 vials of these chemical things from the bioresearch labs from Harvard University. Okay, what does that tell you? So there are things that are known already, and certainly I'm sure that the administration and the appropriate agencies will continue to keep us alerted and aware. But I would hope that if other nations are taking the precautionary actions and closing their borders off and stopping flights, we need to make sure that we are doing the same to keep our American citizens in this nation protected and safe as well. This is why we agree so wholeheartedly with our president in regard to our border. We can't continue to just be open wide to this, because people are going to be fleeing. We don't know what's truly happening with the coronavirus down in, say, South American countries, because they don't even know how to test for it. They don't even have the equipment to know how to test for it.
There's no data. Johns Hopkins, which probably has the best map tracking real live-breaking outbreaks and new cases, doesn't have any reports coming out of South America or Africa. That, to me, is pretty terrifying, because that means, as we all now are coming to learn, this virus incubates for up to 24 days. And asymptomatic a lot of times. So, all these cases, you may have people running around anywhere that don't even realize they're carrying this virus because they didn't really break out any symptoms, and that's good for them, but it's bad for the people that they come in contact with that do become sick, and I mean very, very sick. And this is why the coronavirus is already some 10 times, in terms of the infection rate, is 10 times higher than was the case in the 2003 SARS epidemic. So this is a really challenging time. This is really challenging for countries around the world to figure out how to work together. In fact, Monday, the head of the CDC, Center for Disease Control, is going to be testifying before Congress. So I'm very anxious to hear what she has to say about the coronavirus and what the United States government is planning to do in order to prevent, identify, and treat the spread.
That's right, exactly. So it's important to watch and listen to that as well. Like on Monday, that's going to be important. Very important to watch that and see what comes out from that report. But there's also many other things that we can be doing now in the meantime. And moving right along, I will say that this morning, in speaking with wonderful Representative Doug Collins out of Georgia, to change the subject on that. I think we've given a little bit update on that corona. Be vigilant, folks, and stock up. But he is, the president is considering nominating him for the position to be heading the D&I, which I think is very, very interesting. But from what I understand, he is very committed to running for the Senate and wants to stay running for the Senate. What say you?
I actually think that's wonderful. I mean, he was probably one of the most masterful speakers during the entire impeachment debacle, the fake impeachment hot trial. The whole thing was such a joke. During the hearings, I thought he was masterful. And frankly, we could use another, solid conservative in the Senate to continue to hold the Senate to conservative principles, to constitutional values, which is what that's Middle America should be. We need to re-identify with that. And so to have a voice like Doug Collins in the Senate would be fantastic.
I agree.
We can find somebody else to lead the DNI. I mean, we have so many intelligence agencies. The fact that everybody's freaking out over Richard Grinnell being the acting DNI, acting head of the DNI is actually music to my ears, because this is a gentleman who is, a strong ally to the president. And let's face it, you serve at the pleasure of the president. And, the sooner that people recognize that, the better. The previous administration weaponized our intelligence communities, abused our intelligence apparatus, spied on a bunch of all of us. We've all been spied on thanks to the Patriot Act and, General Hayden's desire to increase his knowledge base of what everybody's doing and being able to review anything he wanted to at any time and unmask anybody at any time. This is what they've been successful in doing, and it's illegal. It's a complete violation of our Fourth Amendment rights to privacy.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad to see Doug Collins is going to, go into that direction. Hopefully he will win, and the president will have an opportunity to find somebody else. And Annie, while we're talking about it, Richard Grinnell taking that job as acting director for DNI is actually able to sit there for about 200 days, I think it is, before there has to be a nomination. Once there's a nomination, he can sit there as long as it takes that nomination to go through the Senate approval process.
That's very true.
So
that's very true.
He could be there for a long time, and to be honest, we need to have allies and people loyal to the Constitution and loyal to America in charge of our intelligence agencies, not loyal to the global cabal that's been raping and pillaging the American taxpayer and others around the world.
Amen to that, sister. Absolutely.
That's
America
right.
first. America first. We must continue with that agenda. And
right.
In addition to that, in speaking to Representative Collins' staff, we have the wonderful opportunity, and we just recently had the opportunity to have George Papadopoulos here in Marion County in Ocala to kick off Ocala, and we'll certainly have many more coming through. And speaking with Congressman Collins' staff, I look forward to having him here in March, and we continue. We've had the pleasure of having Judge Jeanine through. And actually, quite frankly, every time that I did bring Judge Jeanine through her first book and her second book as well, I would put her at the Hilton right here in Ocala, very quietly. They're very discreet. No one knew anything. To have a presidential suite, it was perfect. And so we're going to be raising the bar here and our standard of excellence, of course, that we serve our communities and bringing the information that we can to our residents, our citizens here in Marion County and across the state, as we continue to do in all our different chapters. So I'm real excited about having Representative Collins come down to Marion County for us and spend some time with us. It'll be a wonderful experience and a wonderful time.
Great. That's very, very exciting. And Annie, when will George Papadopoulos be back? Isn't he slated to come back at some point?
He is. Next month as well, a different region. And that's the beauty of it, is because we have so many chapters, as I said, from the bottom of the state to the top of the state, that we get to cluster and do counties, certain counties all at, and within a few days we'll do 5 or 6 counties, and then they come back, and so everyone gets to hear the message across the state. But they also, like for instance with Mark Geis, it was so very important to have him talk to the folks and make them understand, let them see and know the facts. And we showed his movie trail as well. It was in a beautiful, beautiful ranch out in Floral City, and we had a big screen. We have the Jumbotron here in Ocala. I had the Trump train, which was built by our wonderful Citrus County chapter and some wonderful gentlemen there. And we had the Jumbotron, we had the truck, we had the Clydesdale horse. So we make it fun, we make it exciting, but it's extremely informative. And the information that Mark Geis, it's still with me to know that there are so many veterans out there that are not registered. So the work that we're doing and joining up with the different veteran organizations. I myself personally serve and have served on multiple boards of different veteran organizations, and I currently am still on the board of directors with Joint Mission, which is a wonderful veteran organization, the only one of its kind that provides all of the furnishings. Once we get the veterans into a home with the HUD-VASH program, then we supply their beds, their everything, you name it, couches, beds, knives, forks, spoons, toasters, mirrors, towels, sheets, soup to nuts, so to speak. And it's important to be able to work with organizations like this and bring it to the forefront, but also have the opportunity to help them get registered to vote or update.
That's right.
Because some of them, unfortunately, most people think, oh yeah, it's that one guy underneath the bridge, that one veteran underneath the bridge. That's wrong, and it's sad because literally there are families that are homeless. Right. Veterans and non-veterans as well. So that's a tremendous issue that we still struggle with in this nation. And I think it's a disgrace that when we see where they're primarily located are in the Pelosi districts, Waters district, Baltimore. How disgusting was Baltimore? And, but we have good people out there working collectively together to make a difference within these communities.
Annie, with 20 million veterans living in the United States and 1.5 million of them happening to reside in Florida, we're the third largest veteran population behind California and Texas. I mean, we have a very significant population here in Florida that needs to be addressed, and our VA, thank goodness for President Trump making changes and reforms to the VA that people can now be held accountable and fired. You're fired. Their job, and you're not, how dare they not take the best care of these men and women who sacrificed everything?
Well, one of the best things he did was put choice in place. Choice in places where they can go to a doctor and get the medical attention and needs that, whatever they need. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, this was hideous. There were people that were abusing these veterans, and because of the old rules and that they had under the VA, they couldn't even fire these folks. They could just continue to abuse these folks. That's wrong. And thank you, President Donald J. Trump, for what you have done for the care for our veterans and for this nation. But that was tremendous. That was tremendous to be able to say, okay, no, you're not going to do that to any one of our veterans anymore, and you're out of here. And you'll never step foot back in here. And then to be able to help these veterans by having them go to a doctor of their choice. Thank you. That is fantastic. Fantastic.
Fun fact question of the wars between World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, and then post 9/11. In the state of Florida, what is the largest veteran population from which war do you think is residing in the state of Florida right now?
Geez, I would, just off the top of my head, I would say Vietnam.
You're right, and it's a significant difference. We've got about 520,000 Vietnam vets in the state of Florida, and the next closest to it is peacetime veterans in the state of Florida. So I mean, it's a pretty disparate. Korea had about 140,000, and the Gulf War 188,000, but that's pretty incredible. 519 Vietnam era veterans in the state of Florida, and again, wow! You look at those men that came back from Vietnam, how they were treated when they came back,
it makes
to
me
how
so
they're
sad.
treated today. It's such a right. I mean, but President Trump again has re-educated and informed people how important our military is. I mean, this is part of the crisis we have in education right now, where our children have been programmed through social justice warriors for educators.
That's right.
That our military
about respecting our veterans, and let me tell you something. That means all veterans. And you and I just recently had the honor of celebrating the 100th birthday with Colonel Howard Scrappy Johnson, which is the World War II veteran pilot that broke the altitude record. What an honor that was. But let me tell you something. We respect all veterans, and whether it was a Confederate war or whatever war, but I can certainly say that every veteran, and those people, they were veterans as well. And they need to be honored, and we are honoring them. I hear talk about some folks that they want to take down Confederate monuments and Confederate flags and all this other. Well, I'll tell you what. Those were soldiers, American soldiers. need to be honored.
Right.
And I'm glad that there's a bill now going through this legislative session to make it a felony if you touch or dismantle or do anything with any of our monuments. I say kudos.
Deface any of our monuments. That's right.
Yes.
Well, I know we're getting ready. We've got a few minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
I want to end on a funny, actually, Annie, because we've seen the last 3 years the achievements that President Trump has managed to accomplish, from economics to unemployment to negotiating trade and peace deals, and really just working so hard for everybody while not taking a salary. And then you have boobs out there like John Brennan, who's still pushing the same old story that Russia is working harder than ever to help President Trump get reelected in 2020. This guy has lost his ever-loving mind, and he thinks people are going to listen to this garbage coming out. I think the American electorate, whether they pay close attention to or not, are just not listening to it anymore. They don't want to hear this. It's like, come up with a real story, show us facts, or just go away. And these people need to go away. They need to be locked up and sent away, to be honest. But I'm just wondering what you think about his audacity to come out and start pushing that narrative again.
It's insanity. Well, it's part of the, I can tell you, it's one of the chapters straight out of the Saul Lisinski book, where these folks, it's a tactic. We've seen the video of Nancy Pelosi literally talking about, this is how we do the smear campaign, and then we feed it to the media, and then the media will feed it, and then the people will believe it. I mean, this is all the continuation of Saul Alinsky, and of which they all prescribe to. And we cannot, in any circumstance, allow these people to continue to get away with this. I know that it takes time, and believe me, we pray for the president each and every day. We have our Trump prayer line. We also pray for the Attorney Barr and the administration, and right now, extra special prayers for Attorney Barr and what he's doing. Look at the lies they just recently put out, that Attorney Barr said he was going to quit. And resign. He was going to quit.
Yeah.
And he got out there and said, never said it, not true, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, but if he didn't do that, what happens is, listen, they have been doing this to the president, but not only to the president. He's been under attack each and every day with lies, misinformation, rumors, gossip and all that nonsense. But it's not just the president, because they have been doing that. I've been myself personally, because right after I finished with the 2016 campaign and started Trump Team 2020 Florida, I've been attacked with lies about me and just stories made up that I can't. I just look at that and it's just so asinine. But it's just not me. It's my colleagues in Texas, my colleagues in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. So it's all over with this attack. But, at the end of the day, what I say is that no one, not President Trump, not me, not any of my colleagues, no one was attacked worse than our Savior, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ took it for us. Donald's taking it for us. I'll take it for us. We continue to move forward. And we continue to stand in the gap with our Savior, Jesus Christ. And in the name of Jesus Christ, I tell you that we move forward and we will be victorious, because I feel totally that this president was anointed and put in that position for this time.
Amen.
At this time, indeed, to save this nation, not just this nation, but others. And he's doing a terrific job, an amazing job. Look at what he's done with Israel when he moved that. How many other presidents were in that seat? I promise. We're going to do that and move it to Jerusalem. No, he did it. He delivered. He delivered.
He did it under budget and in less time than was
under
proposed.
Budget.
So,
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
They said it was going to be
$1 billion.
$1 billion, and he did it for $400,000. Exactly. There you go.
So good.
Promises made and promises kept.
And the promises exceeded. Let's be clear. We are in the state that we're in because we have a president who has exceeded on the promises that he's made. He continues to overperform and out-deliver. on everything that he says he's going to do. Now, if he just had a Congress that would cooperate, think of everything we could get done.
It would be amazing.
It would be, I mean, it is amazing. I don't even know if people could handle it. The winning would be too much. It might be too much, Annie.
I can never get tired of winning, honey, and we are winning.
That's right.
And how could we not win with a team like this here? That's for sure.
Absolutely. Conservative Watch is on the move, and we are loving doing these shows. And I'm so excited to go to CPAC with you next week. I know we're going to have a great time in our broadcast booth. We'll be broadcasting daily from 3 to 6.
Yes.
On Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So it's going to be a very exciting crowd. Security is really up. I believe a lot of the First Family will be floating around.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, they will. And that's a wonderful, exciting opportunity to be approved and be there and be part of media and we'll be just bringing the message back home right from CPAC, which is the Conservative Political Action Committee, the largest conservative group in the world.
Amen. Mm-hmm. Amen. It's a good time. If you haven't been, I highly recommend anybody to attend. You're with your people. You've come home. It's like coming home. You know, you're with your people. It's just a lot of fun. I always have great memories from CPAC, so looking forward to the agenda. They should be publishing it with specificity here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's on tap.
Well, Ann, I'll tell you, we got 2 minutes left here, and so I just want to take a minute out and number one, first, always thank you so much for doing all that you do. You are one brilliant mind out there, one of the highest respected journalists that I know, and it's really refreshing to have a conservative journalist that's out there telling the truth of what you do. And we have a couple of things real quick. We've got an event going on today in Pensacola, Trump Team 2020 Florida flag waving. So Pensacola, get out there, Pensacola.
Get out there.
Tomorrow will be Hernando County. We've got a wonderful event happening there, Kathy Chamblin. And then we go down to Vero Beach and the Villages on the 26th. So with that, we want to thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to being with you again next Friday at 11 o'clock. Right here on WOCA 96.3.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump calls it a hoax. A Kremlin spokesman calls it paranoia.
House lawmakers were told last week in a classified briefing that Russia wants to see President Trump reelected, with President Putin